with you again for insight to the end times. Today is Monday, March the 13th. It also is the beginning of week number 51 in our podcast. This is number 301. And we're looking at the timeline of events that occur at the very last portion of existence on the earth here. Last Saturday, we concluded our podcasts from last week looking at the timeline leading up to the rapture of the church. And once the rapture of the church occurs, we are ready to see the Antichrist being revealed. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 7 and 8, the Apostle Paul writes and he says, the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. That's a reference to the Antichrist spirit, or the season of the Antichrist. The way things are occurring in our world today have Antichrist written all over them. Then it goes on to say, only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way. The he reference here has provided a little bit of confusion in the past. There's been teaching across the board, but the real he here that we're talking about is the church that's been raptured, pre-tribulation rapture, and taken out of the way. Once that has occurred, the Antichrist will be revealed. Verse 8 says, then the lawless one will be revealed. And the rest of that verse refers to further prophetic events down the road. But the point I'm getting at is this: once the church is raptured and taken out of the way, then we will see the Antichrist revealed. The next step takes place just on the opening days of the tribulation period, because we have the Antichrist revealed and the 7 years of tribulation begin automatically or immediately. And one of the very first events, if not the first event, is World War III. Or we call it the invasion of Israel by a coalition of nations, referred to in Ezekiel chapter 38. Magog is Russia. Gog is the leader of Russia. And then there's about 9 other countries that are forming a coalition to come against Israel, including countries like Iran and Turkey and Libya and so on and so forth. Now they come against Israel. And in chapter 39, God details what happens. Verses 4 through 8 indicate this is a one-day war, and God defeats these enemies completely, eliminates them completely. It's unbelievable. It's complete destruction. Then in verse number 9 it says it takes 7 years to burn all of the tanks and the weapons and all the other things left behind in this battle. And then verse 12 talks about 7 months to bury all the dead. So we're talking about the number 7 twice, which is a reference to the 7 years of tribulation. Let's fast forward a little bit further. Now we've had this war take place. There is a treaty that the Antichrist will sign with Israel at the very beginning of this time frame, likely just after this war takes place. And it will last for the first half of the tribulation. It will last for 3.5 years, and it will be broken. But when we want to talk about the tribulation period, we have to go to the book of Revelation. Chapters 4 through 18 describe elements of the tribulation period. It is going to not only have a massive outpouring of God's wrath. The Bible talks about 7 seals, 7 trumpets, and 7 bowls. These references to 7, there are 21 different references to wrath being poured out by God against the Antichrist and the evil that's in the world. The tribulation is broken into 2 3.5 year segments. The second half is known as the Great Tribulation, and there's much we could share, and we have shared in the past on this. But I want to take you to Revelation chapter 19, because in Revelation chapter 19, we see a lot of things happening. We see Jesus Christ returning to the earth with all the saints who are in heaven to face off against the Antichrist or satanic forces of evil and the massive army that has marched into that region from the Far East, probably from China. This is the Battle of Armageddon. And this battle takes place in the fields, in the meadows outside of in Jerusalem, in Israel, outside of Tel Aviv and outside of Jerusalem itself. And it's a one day, it's not even a one day, it's more like a 1 hour victory by Jesus and his saints over the forces of evil. And at the same time as this battle concludes and so on, the Antichrist and the false prophet, who are referred to in these earlier chapters, they are both cast into the lake of fire. The lake of fire and brimstone. They're done. They're finished. They're out of the picture. The first couple of verses of Revelation 20 indicate that Satan will be bound in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. The conclusion of Revelation 19 and the first part of Revelation 20 indicate Jesus will rule and reign over the world for a 1,000-year period. It's called the millennial reign of Christ. Then in verse 7 of chapter 20, Satan is loosed from the bottomless pit. He comes back. He's allowed to try and deceive the nations again. And by verse 10, he is cast into the lake of fire and brimstone. He's finished. He's done. That's the end of him. Then Revelation 20 verses 11 through 15 talk about the great white throne judgment. This is where all the sinners and everyone who has refused to accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior will be judged on their works, and they will be cast into the lake of fire as well. This is bad news. Bad news. And these are the events that we're coming up towards very, very soon. We're coming towards the rapture of the church very soon, followed by the Antichrist being revealed, followed by the World War III, followed by the 7 years of tribulation, followed by the Battle of Armageddon, followed by the rule and reign of Jesus Christ for 1,000 years, and then the great white throne judgment, which deals with all of those who have never accepted Jesus as their Lord and Savior, being cast into the lake of fire. We're going to share more on what occurs in this time period in some future podcasts. But the rest of this week, I want to share some essential keys with you to ensure that you will be part of the pre-tribulation rapture. So please don't miss it. We'll see you tomorrow. Call you blessed. See you then. Bye.